I'm Dave Fiore, the founder and CEO of Fiore Communications, and this is a special update episode of How I Got Here. At the end of each episode, I ask every guest the same question. Where do you think here will be for you in 3 to 5 years? Well, it's been 5 years, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to check in and see how things are going. Today, I'm pleased to have How I Got Here guest number 16, Talethia Edwards. Hi, Talethia.
Hey, Dave.
Thanks for being here. Can you believe it's been 5 years?
I can't believe it. Time has really flown by.
Yeah, I bet especially for you because you've been doing a lot.
Yes, I have been.
Well, we're going to talk about that now.
Right.
So before we get to that, though, I'm going to play back to you your answer from 2020 on where you thought you might be today, and then we'll talk about it.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. So here for me in 3 to 5 years, I'm hopefully still leading my community, but not in a leadership role. I hope that I have led well, and there is someone that's going to come up and say, hey, lady, I like you. You've been good, but you've inspired me to lead, and I have greater ideas. And so that I'm leading this community from more wisdom and mentorship role, but that in my personal life, that maybe I'm doing my podcast, that I've learned about how to do that, and I've really gotten comfortable with sharing my own voice and having these conversations with other people that want to have community conversations, parenting conversations, or just anything that I really want to talk about. And that I've written a book. I want to write a little manual about community revitalization from a grassroots perspective, the ground zero of it. Hopefully I'll have my master's degree. That's one of the things. That's a personal big goal that I'm working on, that I can, for myself, this would be something I do for myself, that I plan to do all of this schooling that I never got to do. And although my master's degree field would change, I'm thinking more so urban planning or some kind of leadership, but that will be something I do for myself.
Wow.
So what are your first thoughts when you hear that?
I can't believe I said those things 5 years ago, and that some of them have actually happened in 5 years. Whoa. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We speak things into existence and just walk it out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of that. So what are some of those things that have come true? And I know you've done a lot of other stuff that you probably couldn't even have imagined 5 years ago. So Let's start with what you thought you would be doing and how much of that actually happened.
Right. So I got a master's degree in urban planning. I went to Florida State and I graduated. I am an urban planner.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That was super difficult. And believe it or not, at that time, just a little update, I was starting the program, or you had applied for the program, and they had taken Romel away, which I was in a really deep depression and withdrew. But the university called about 1.5 years after that and was like, hey, we know it was some tough times. We're wondering, do you want to enter this program? And it was right on time. And I'm a planner.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
The book was not what I thought, I would write, the ground zero kind of, community organizing book. But I did write my first book, Only Paper Understands. It's a reflective journal. I've been a lifelong journaler. And I took pages out of old journals and then reflected where I was at that moment and allowed the reader to then write their own reflections. But I did do a second podcast, which is a precursor to the precursor of that book that I think will be More of Us, what I'm going to call More of Us, which is kind of a grassroots organizing handbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
All right. So like I said, I also know that you've been doing a lot of things that you probably weren't even on your radar 5 years ago. So tell us about that. Kind of bring us up to date on what the last 5 years have been like for you.
Yeah, a real whirlwind, right? The kids are all growing up really fast. What I didn't think I would be doing is leading nonprofits. So I was able to serve as the interim director for Whole Child Leon, an organization I hold really near and dear to my heart. Have done a lot of work as just a community partner. And as they began to experience transition, I was able to step in and lead there for a while. And now I'm currently serving as the executive director of Good News Outreach, which is another local nonprofit here, also doing some amazing work in the reentry space, transitional affordable housing, senior living, has an amazing 1,200 square foot food pantry where we're serving over 1,000 families a month. And so lots of big work. And it is a elevation of the transition to my organizing work, right? But still in the same trajectory of all of what I've always done.
And your education didn't stop after your master's degree, right? You've still been pursuing other things.
Yes, I've done a lot of things. I participated in the Harvard Bloomberg Global Cities Cross Collaboration Initiative. It was a year-long, very intensive program. Learned a lot of things there. Was in a very diverse group, individuals from Saudi Arabia, Amsterdam, South Africa, just globally.
Right.
And so that's a different worldview when you think about leadership. And recently came back from the Yale Campaign School. So that was also a paradigm shift, having worked parallel to politics and, politicians and policymakers advocating for my community, and now being immersed in a room learning about these global politics and moving our nation forward and what it takes, whether you're a policy advocate or whether you decide to be a candidate or be elected yourself.
Yeah. So what do you bring back most from those experiences when you come back home?
That we got to keep working, right? Everybody everywhere is working, and nothing is perfect when you think about cities and communities and those having needs, but you learn how to innovate on what you're gaining from these diverse groups and what you're learning from people in other situations, and you come back and you iterate. That's a big word at Harvard. They like that, iteration. So you don't throw it away, and we've done that a lot in community. Oh, this doesn't work, so I get rid of it, I start over. But no, the word is iteration. What didn't work? Let me learn from that. Let me go back to the place where I think I failed, which isn't failure, right? Because this is ever evolving. Right. But how do I iterate on what didn't go the way I wanted to, and then start over, right? Or start from there and then continue to get to the big picture you're trying to get to.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then most recently, you just got back you were part of Tallahassee's contingent at the All-American City thing, right? So what was that experience like?
That experience was exhilarating. It was 19 other communities there at the All-America City Award that were finalists, and Tallahassee was one of those finalists. It was so refreshing. The delegation that went was a great group of people who didn't know each other, but we got to know each other through practicing our skit and our presentation to present our city to the judges. And what we really, from my experience and my opinion from the trip, what we got to experience is that Tallahassee is an amazing place that's doing amazing things with a diverse group of people whose heart is really towards excellence, right? Mm-hmm. And again, doesn't mean we're perfect or we're getting it all right, but it means that we're working very hard to do something in this city that we're proud of, and to be with other people from their cities feeling the same way was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So what do you think you've learned most about yourself over the last 5 years?
I've learned that I'm committed, right? I wake up sometimes and don't know if I have the answers, but I'm very committed to following through to get to them. And most people say, you didn't know you were committed already, you were married. No, but when you do something that is outside of yourself, it is easy to walk away from it, right? But this work, I'm committed to the elevation of the work. I'm committed to seeing it through. I'm committed to making sure that it is done equitably and that those who are the beneficiaries are being heard and are actually receiving those benefits. And that makes me proud. Really, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a guess at where you might be 5 years from now?
5 years from now.
You were pretty close the first time.
I was. as I think about who I am today and where I think my space of influence or how I could continue to make a difference, maybe it's serving in a political role somewhere. I'm not sure. I mean, I've thought about it, right?
Maybe run for office someday?
Yeah, thinking about, you know, is that the next step? Really beefing up my own community development organization. I enjoy being a translator and coalition building, going into communities and working with individuals who have big dreams but don't quite know how to get there.
Right.
And translating the need of the people to those who have the resources and power sharing. So hopefully that T.O. Edwards and Associates is in I ain't gonna say a better place because we're doing pretty good, but hopefully that we're in a more prominent place. We are the organizations that's called on when you think about community development and working with marginalized groups and elevating voices of those who you want to be inclusive and share power with. Hope we're there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talethia, thank you for giving us an update and for sharing your ongoing journey with us. It is always great to see you. To our listeners, if you've not already, I encourage you to listen to Talethia's original episode. It will put some context to this conversation and add some additional insight into her journey. You can listen right here or at tallypodcast.com. Thanks for supporting this podcast and connecting with your community. We'll see you next time.